So we've gone through our task list. Now let's go through our calendar. Now, the big problem that everyone normally has with calendars is they wind up doing something where they have, say, oh, at 8 a.m., there's their work. And then, that goes all the way to, 4 p.m. And then immediately after that, from 4 p.m. to, I don't know, whatever, 5 p.m., they have, I don't know, their workout. Okay, well, here's our problem right here, this 4 p.m. to 4 p.m. Is it actually going to take you a grand total of 0 minutes to get out of your work and go to the gym? Probably not. So what people don't take into consideration is they don't take into consideration travel time. So if we go back and we look at my little picture here, not that one, if we go back and look at the other little picture here, you notice that I have these little green areas called drive. And that's taking into consideration how much it takes me to get from one thing to one thing. And so in these places, people wind up normally thinking they have a lot more time or that they can fit a lot more into one day without realizing, no, they physically don't, because it takes them X number of minutes, or in my case, over an hour sometimes, to get to certain places where they need to be. So that's, with traffic and red lights and all these other things. So you have to take into consideration the distance it will take you to travel. And of course, all the other things like sleeping and, eating breakfast and getting yourself ready every day, so on and so forth. All those sorts of things are things that you're going to wind up having to take into consideration. You may do them naturally every single day, but they take up time. You can't physically be in two places at once. You can't be, getting yourself ready for the day and doing your assignments at the exact same time. So you're going to have to physically block out those times and figure out even the mundane stuff that you do every day. How long does it take you to take a shower, brush your teeth, comb your hair, get dressed, so on and so forth? What does that routine, how long does that take you? 30 minutes, 45 minutes? Now, in this, I've blocked it out in 30-minute increments. You could do 15 if you want, but that'll be a very, very long page. But then you'll see with all that time added in, what very few chunks of time you have that are actually just completely blank. And those are going to be those times where you're going to wind up doing the stuff that's on your task list. Okay? So that's the time, those blank spaces, those are going to be the only times available for you to actually do the things on your task list. Because, the other things are all your scheduled times and your scheduled meetings. So, but once you create all that, once you wind up creating all this stuff and you've saved it, you like it, it's all nice and pretty, and it's color-coded in a way so that, your travel time is always the same color because, we want this to not only be visible, we want this to be consistent. I mean, do you really, really want to have, oh, my travel time is always in purple, except for the one time it's in orange? No, you want to be consistent so that someone can look at it and understand it at a moment's notice. They understand. It's consistent. We want this to be readable to other people. So once you've figured out what it is you're going to wind up doing, we're going to just take our two things. So, let's just say we have ourselves a new folder here, and we've put ourselves our new folder, whatever. And we've got two different items that we're going to click and drag and put into this folder. We're going to want to zip this folder. Now, you're probably thinking, wait a minute, I can just simply just make multi-sheets in Excel. I can have one file be multiple sheets. Yes, you can. We're not going to do that in this assignment because I want you to learn how to zip folders. Because it might not matter in this particular program because you can have multiple sheets, but it will one day matter because you will have projects that will wind up having multiple sheets. You'll have projects that will wind up being multiple files in multiple programs, and you're going to need to consolidate them all together. And would you rather upload each file individually, or would you rather upload it all at once? So we're going to zip a folder here. That's going to save ourselves some time. It's also going to save ourselves space. The file sizes will actually get smaller when we do this. And then, of course, it'll save ourselves a headache. So, now, for those of you that are in a Mac, all you have to do is simply Control-click it, or the equivalent of right-click if you have a right-click mouse attached to your Mac, and just go to this button called Compress. And hit Compress, and you'll notice this little thing with a zipper right here. It even says .zip. So that would have every single file you have inside of it, and it would be zipped up through to folders. Now, I will do the exact same thing, but this time I will do it in Windows, and I'll just wait for Windows to load because it's going to load parallel desktops. Yes, I am running 2 operating systems on this computer, one for Mac and one for Windows, so there should be absolutely no problem. If you give me a Windows file, I should still be able to open it. If I cannot open it, I will let you know in the submission for the assignment, and we will have to correct that in class. So let's just get parallel desktops running. You're probably hearing my fan going into overdrive as I run 2 operating systems and screen capture recording software on the exact same time. But let me just I'll take my untitled folder here, and I'll make another. I'll just move it right out here so we can see it right there. So I'm going to take my untitled folder, and I'm going to instead right-click it again. But this time, one moment while it loads. This time, instead of having a simple button called Compress, I have something called Send To. And Send To has all these different options. It has Bluetooth, desktop, documents, fax receipt, mail receipt, DVD drive, Dropbox on my Mac or whatever. We're going to go to this thing that says compressed zip folder. So it's instead of a 1-step process, it is now a 2-step process. It is Send To, Compress, and you'll see, and of course this directory is empty, so compressed zip cannot be added to the archive. Basically, it just warned me, hey, I'm zipping a empty folder because there's nothing inside of it. But for you guys, yes, if you were to physically, right-click this, you can go to Send To, Compress, and it even says in parentheses, zipped. You'll be able to submit that zipped folder as one file submission instead of having to upload multiple files. And you'll be able to submit that, and it'll be all nice and neat. Now, of course, I recommend that you always rename these files anyway, because you want to, right-click and rename them, and put your name on it and what class it is, so that, of course, I know what student is sending me what. I don't want to be grading Untitled Folder 1, Untitled Folder 2, Untitled Folder 3, Untitled Folder 4. Let me know who it is that's actually sending this assignment. You want to get credit for your work, right? So you probably want to make sure you've put it in you want to make sure you put your name in there and what class you are so that you know that you're going to get credit for your work. Thank you very much, and see you all next week. We're going to be getting a little bit more in-depth into Excel, and we'll be getting more in-depth into stuff that Excel can actually do for its own purposes and not just making a task list and a calendar. We're going to actually start getting into actual Excel programming and the functionality of charts.